Hey friends and followers, this is Angie with Refine Crafts coming to you today from our laser and embroidery studio, and today's tip is going to be a video demo of switching out the Smartstitch 10 needle, the S1001, from the magnetic hoop that you see mounted now to the hat hoop so that we can set up to do some hats. So the first thing that we'll do is remove the magnetic hoop that is on now. And that is just a matter of taking these bolts out, or not even taking them all the way out, but loosening them. And this hoop will come right off. And this is what the magnetic hoop looks like. This is one of my favorite hoops to use. I'll do another video on this some other day if you all are interested. So I'm going to set that aside. And now you'll see that this has this piece. This comes with the magnetic hoop, and it's something that helps keep things stable as we're using those hoops, since there are no arms here to hold the hoop in place. And these are screwed on with little tiny screws underneath here. So I'm going to grab the right wrench for that and take those off too. Alright, so I've zoomed in just a little so you can see more of what I'm doing. This is the wrench that I'm using. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see what size it is right now, but it does come in the Smartstitch kit. If you buy these magnetic hoops, they will designate which wrench you're supposed to use, but I'm going to show you something because just knowing which wrench to use was not helpful to me. These are the tiny screws that this piece mounts with, and if you use the longer screws, which will also fit in that hole, if you use those longer screws, you will get the most horrible grinding noise on your machine when you try to frame it. And that's because the inside mechanism in here grinds against those longer screws. So in the instructions, they tell you to use the smaller wrench because these have a smaller hole, but they don't specify use the shorter screws. So learn from my mistake, use the shorter screws if you're hooking this piece up. Then once you've taken those two screws out, this just comes out. Again, this is a piece that goes with the magnetic hoop and helps to stabilize things while you're embroidering. The next step is to get your hat hoop, which I have here, but I'm going to zoom out, so give me a second. Alright, so this is your hat hoop, and right now mine is locked because it's been stored, and you can see that we have these pieces here, and what they do is they move the plastic block that locks the hoop in place. So right now we want that to be recessed. So when we pull this, you see it pushes this out, and that's what's going to hold the hoop secure against the machine. While we're installing it, we want them recessed, and for now I'm going to keep this locked. So you kind of wiggle it a little bit till you can get over it to this point. So you're putting the hat hoop over top of this bar. And then these two little wheels are going to tilt underneath. This part with the slots goes over top of the screw mount, and then you're going to tilt it back in place. And what's happening, let me take this off of my phone stand for a minute and I'll show you. Okay, so what's happening at this point is you have these two little wheels, and they have been positioned. You see they can go up and down right now. They've been positioned here where there are a couple of recessed slots in the back, and that's where they need to be. Alright, this is underneath two screws. We'll put the third one in here in a little bit, but first we're going to complete getting it hooked up. And right now these latches are locked. So I can go ahead and unlock the latches now. If you wait till later, it's going to be more difficult to unlock those. And now I'm going to put my phone back on the stand so we can keep going. Alright, so you can see the hat hoop is in place. The latches are now unlatched. Now underneath where those little handles were, you're going to reach and pull those handles until they lock closed. And what that's done is it's pushed those little blocks. One is here and the other one is over here. It's pushed those blocks against this part of the machine so that the hat hoop is now locked in place, and the wheels on the other side that we just looked at are locked into those recesses. If you did that locking before you unlatch these latches, it would be very difficult to unlatch the latches at this point. So what I'm going to do now is get the third bolt that I have over here. I've got a magnetic dish that I keep on my machine so that all of these bolts are kept, and we'll screw that in place. And then I'm going to make sure that this is lined up. And there is another video on my channel about how to make sure this is lined up, and looking down through this channel to make sure the little nylon bolts are in place and in line, and that helps keep your hat hooping straight. I'm not going to go into detail on that right now. I'm just going to tighten these down. So I'm going to push that up until I think it's pretty straight. Tighten these so that they're still movable. So they're not tightened all the way. So this can still move right now. And then, pardon if my head gets in the video, but I'm going to come down here and I'm looking down this channel to make sure that I've got even spacing on the front and the back of the nylon positioning screws, that it'll all look straight down the line as I finish tightening this up so that it stays straight. All right, so the things to double check: you want all of these bolts to be tight. You want the nylon positioning bolts inside this channel to be straight, showing that this is going to allow your hat hoop to turn straight. You want these wheels in the back to be locked in place using the levers on the bottom, and you want these latches to be unlatched, and all of that should help you get a successful framing. So I'm coming over to my machine now, and I'm going into framing parameters on the machine. And actually, let me grab my phone and I'll show you what I'm doing. Alright, so here's my control panel, and I'm going to go into my hooping, and here where you can select your hoops, and you can see all of your selections. Right now I'm on number 8, which is the magnetic hoop. I'm going to switch it to number 5, which is the hat hoop, and I'm going to press OK. And it's going to give me a warning. It's saying switching the embroidery frame will move the frame to the center point. And I'm going to say OK. And you can see that now it's moving, and nothing is grinding, and it's looking good. So while I'm here, I'm going to show you a couple other things with this hat hoop and setting up to start embroidering hats. If you go into your embroidery files and you choose the file you want, and I already know that my file number 151 is the one that I want, so I'm going to choose it. On this screen, this positioner is right side up, and that is correct for a hat on the hat hoop if you already have your hat hoop positioned and designated. And that is because that designation of your hat hoop is going to automatically flip your design to go on your hat correctly. So you want this to be right side up. And now we can see that we've brought that design in. If we look at the framing, we can see that it is already automatically upside down, and it is within the hat hoop boundaries. So if we hit frame and we go around the border, the hat hoop is going around. We can see where it's going to embroider, and you notice that it's also not making any horrible grinding noises, and the hoop itself is turning straight against the body of the machine. So these are the things you want to check when you're installing your hat hoop to get ready to embroider hats. The last thing that I'm going to show you in this video is actually putting a hooped hat onto this hat hoop on your machine and getting things centered up before you start stitching. So I've hooped this hat. It is hooped correctly and tight, I will make another video to show how I do that. So you're going to take this notch should align with this part of your hat hoop, and all of your clips should be able to clip. So we're going to tilt that, place it in position, get it lined up, and start pushing the clips in one by one. And I like to make sure I hear all 3 clips. So that's 1. That one is 2, it's in, but I didn't hear it, but I can tell it's in. And then the last one on the bottom, that one's clipped too. To make sure that you're centered up, you can, let me grab my phone again. Okay, so here we are with our hat. It is on the hoop correctly. I've adjusted my laser, which you may or may not know is a single time use thing. The laser is not locked in anywhere. It moves all the way around, and it moves every time you use this machine. So if you want to use the laser, you need to set it up for each time that you're testing and make sure it is lined up with where your needle is going to fall when you sew. And then you can use it as an estimate of where it's going to go. What I can see here, looking at the hole and looking at my seam, is that my design needs to move over slightly to the right in order to be on center. So I'm going to use the buttons on my keypad to move my design, and since we need to go to the right, the hat needs to go to the left, so we're pushing the left button, and mine takes tiny little steps. I'll show you how small it moves if I can get it to focus. Alright, so if I move this, you see it's moving back and forth, and I can center it where I need it so that my design is in the center. Oh, and what I just did there is I accidentally hit the middle button. So the middle button, if you have 2 play arrows like that, is going to move very fast, like this, back and forth. Okay. If you have a single, and you just touch it again to go back and forth between single and double, then it's going to take tiny steps, and you can hold it down, or you can take individual steps. All right, but you use these buttons to go back and forth until your laser looks good that you've just set, and then you always double check that with the hole in your needle, in your presser foot. And to me it looks like my laser moved just a little bit, so it's not quite spot on. But now, according to the hole in my presser foot, the design is spot on, and I'm going to turn the laser off because it's not helpful anymore. At this point, you want to frame again. So your design is probably no longer in the center of your template here because you've moved it for this particular hat. So you want to frame, go around the edge, and you can hear the hat rubbing a little bit, but it's not hanging up or binding, so I think it's going to be just fine. And I'm going to go back. I'm going to go into embroidery status, and it asks if I want to keep the design position. I say yes because I manually set that up. Here's my design ready to go. I have everything on auto, so it will automatically change colors and continue, and I'm going to hit start. Actually, I'm going to put that piece of masking tape on the hat before I hit start. So I put my phone back in the stand so I could show you what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. I'm actually going to go back into the framing on my keypad and hit frame again so that you can see what's happening. Right here, the brim of the hat is rubbing up against the back of the machine, but it's not so severe that it's causing it to drag or catch or buckle anything. So I'm going to leave that as it is, but I'm going to put a piece of masking tape right here on the hat. So this is just blue painter's tape. I'm going to put this on the hat here. This will protect the brim of the hat from getting a shiny spot from constantly rubbing against this as it's embroidering. So now we can hit frame again, and you'll see that that is gliding smoothly, and it's now protected by this tape. I'm going back to my start screen and hitting start.